Well, it's hard to believe, but this is our 1000th show.
Oh my goodness, and what a journey.
Yeah, it's and that's over what, 11?
It'll be 11 years in December.
11 years in December. Wow. This is footage from last spring when we were chasing the big boy. We chased it on its trip to California, and then we chased it partially on its trip back from California.
Yeah, I lost track of how many states we ended up in.
I don't know, it's just what we do.
Yeah, the state of exhaustion.
And when we say 11 years, I guess technically I should be saying 40 years.
Oh, for you, yes.
Yeah, because I first started chasing trains around in the early 1980s and was putting those out on VHS as Madame Wu video.
Oh, that's really cool.
And so it was a different time back then.
Yeah, you were chasing trains and I was chasing a toddler.
And I was taking train chasing very seriously. I'd go out for days just sleeping in my car and sometimes checking into a really cheap motel.
Yeah?
If I could find something for around $19, I'd check into a motel.
Well, yeah, chasing a toddler on a tricycle isn't too bad.
And there's Ed Dickens, head of the UP STEAM program.
Right, this is when they were parked in Evanston.
Yeah, we chased it all the way from, I don't know, somewhere east of Evanston.
Leroy Road, you can't forget that one.
And we followed him all the way into Nevada, and then on their return trip we followed back too. But when you're chasing a train, you're chasing with this entire community of people.
Oh, yeah.
And it's frankly gotten quite exhausting.
Yes, I think, when you're younger, there's more you can do, but when you get older, it takes it out of you.
Yeah, this actually might be the last time we actually chased a train. We'll just meet it somewhere from now on.
Right, we're both getting to the point where just it's hard.
Even working on the railroad has gotten challenging.
Well, and this is why we build it on an elevated table, if you will.
Yeah, we built the outdoor railroad just like we built the indoor railroad on bench work. Weatherproof, of course.
Of course, yes.
Covered with roofing material and so on. But we just can't be crawling around on the ground anymore.
Right.
Here we have breaking ground on the railroad.
Oh, when you get to be a certain age, you don't want to break too much ground.
You don't want to break anything.
No.
So we found a company that could move this tough shed from where it was that was in the way to where it is now, which is no longer in the way.
In fact, it's more accessible.
Next up was tearing out all of the weeds and planting proper grass.
Yes.
And just a little bit of landscaping in anticipation of starting the bench work over here by the grapevine.
Right.
And then some basic repair work to the garage too. And then on to the actual construction of the railroad, including waterproof cement scenery and everything. It's been several years working out here. But looking back on this video, I'm actually shocked at how much we've done.
I get kind of tired looking at it. We've done a lot.
In this fall, last fall, I guess we would say,
Yes.
we were mostly working here in Grapevine Village.
That is so fun.
And we just kept at it until the snow came and said, "You're done."
And then that means we go inside and work in there.
First, I had to hang up Christmas lights out here.
Yes, indeed.
But now that the weather's turned out here, we've kind of set the outdoor part of the railroad aside, and we're at the workbench. One of my current projects is these 4 female figures. I made this figure back 15 years ago, and I cast a whole bunch of them up in urethane and then painted them up in different ways, and well, I've decided they need to be completely redone.
Oh boy.
So I'm reworking them.
And one of my hobbies is recreating a lot of the houses I knew as a child or a teenager, even young adult. This is my grandma's house, my grandma and grandpa's house, and believe it or not, the house is still there, and it was actually built from railroad ties way back in the 30s.
Wow.
And no building is complete without a full interior. And this is just small. What would you say, S-scale?
About that, yeah.
Right, because the coffee cups there on the table are actually seed beads. I always loved my grandma's kitchen anyway. Her kitchen was really modest. It even had a Hoosier in the corner. But her kitchen always smelled of homemade bread and coffee, and it just smelled so good to walk into her house. And then she and my grandpa, they enjoyed watching television, so I've depicted them watching their old Philco television.
I love these window peeking things where you have the finished building and you stare through the windows with the lights on, and there's the full interior in there.
Exactly, and I have Steve and Al to thank for that, because they always did the full interior, and I'm going, oh, bingo.
And as I've been working on those figures, I've really been wanting to get back over to the Big Canyon.
Oh, of course.
And by that I also mean the engine shops, because I can't do the tunnel portals here until I have the track laid, and I can't lay the track until I get the turntable roughed in, and I can't do it. I need to get back working over here on the engine shop area, because there's no track, there's just a plywood desert and some structures.
Yes, and storage. We're starting to accumulate things.
Boy, I'll tell you, any horizontal surface will immediately turn into a junk pile.
Right.
So I've gone through here and taken this all apart so that I can actually get back in here and start laying some track.
Right.
And there's a small issue over here, just something in the ordering of the work here. This is the big trestle that's over there in the Big Canyon, and currently the track ends right here.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. So it goes through this tunnel and then over into the engine shops. But one of the reasons I haven't continued the track past here is I've got to actually figure out the track plan on the other side here, because the trestle has to be removable.
Oh, fun.
So there's a little short section here of plastic ties, Yagas Creek plastic ties, held in place by a couple of screws, and when those screws are out, then the deck of the bridge can be lifted, and at that point the entire bridge can be removed from the canyon.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about the abutment. When you mentioned that you wanted to work on the abutment, I wanted to do some little carving in stone myself and make you a real abutment.
Yeah, I believe that's the north side of Mount Rushmore.
It is.
And here's the principal issue. So since the track has to be removable right here at the exit from the tunnel, so I can get to these rail joints to undo those and lift that section out, then that means that this entire area has to be removable.
I guess including my grandpa's shoe shop. I built that 2 years ago to commemorate this wonderful shoe repair business that he had.
And yeah, and there'll be the tunnel portal, of course, right behind the shoe shop.
Yes.
But all of that has to come out probably in a couple of different pieces so that I can get to these rail joints to undo this and remove the trestle.
Yes, let's hope it's not too often.
And then 8 feet away from that, we have the other end of the track where we need to tie in. And this is actually the yard lead over to the Chama yards, which have been built for years. That was one of the very first things that we put in, were the yards over here.
Yes.
But we can't access the yards from the outside or the outside from the yards because there's 8 feet of track missing right there.
Oh dear.
And so here's what's actually missing. Now on our Tuesday show, we've been talking about track planning, and last Tuesday we talked about using computer software for track planning, and this is actually just Adobe Illustrator.
Oh, neat.
Which is what I use for track planning. And here we can see what's missing. We need the switch here. It's a number 6 switch leading into the lead that leads over to the turntable. And then we also need the yard lead. So the switch here is the point between the track leading over to the turntable and engine shop, and the yard lead that goes around behind the turntable. I have actually been losing sleep over this for a couple of years.
Oh yeah.
Because I haven't been sure if exactly how this is going to fit. We've got to fit this with the coaling tower and the sand house and the turntable. And as I've tried working it out in software, it looks like it's going to work. But now comes the actual laying of the track, and there's always going to be a surprise.
Yes.
When you start converting your plans into actual functional railroad.
Exactly.
If I have figured it right, and when did I ever, this yard lead should pass directly underneath the coaling tower and sand house here, so that the yard lead is actually part of the engine facility as it goes around behind the turntable, and then it becomes the yard lead into the Chama yard. One of the things that's already come out as I've been working with it on the computer is that years ago, when I laid this track back behind where the turntable is going to go, I actually extended it too far over to the left. And I'm going to have to tear out a small section of roadbed and tie here and start the curve probably about 9 or 10 inches before I actually thought I was going to put in the curve and laid the track here. So this track will have to be pulled out and replaced with a curve.
Oh.
Now I've been using, it's a sound deadening board. I'd rather be using Homosote, but it's just really hard to find in 4x8 sheets. But this sound deadening board is readily available at Home Depot. And so let's get some measurements here and then head over to Home Depot and grab some material here and get the roadbed down in this area.
Well, since when do we ever do just a trip to Home Depot?
Yeah, there's always one or two things that you forget.
1 or 2 or 3 or 5. We're in there every other day.
Anyway, over here, this is where we buy this extruded styrene. It's not styrofoam, but extruded styrene. And there is the sound deadening board. It looks sort of like a particle board, but it's a really soft and crumbly product that they use for sound insulation behind sheetrock. And I've been using this for roadbed, even though, like I say, I'd rather be using the paper product that's a similar thing, but it's made of paper called Homosote. But this is what they've got, and so this is what we're getting, and this is what we're using.
And this is what works?
So everything's been removed from the work area. These are the structures that actually belong up there, but most of what I took off of there was stuff that just got set there. Model cars and locomotives and just stuff that has been setting up there. But I had to get all of that stuff off and then disassemble the structures so that I can remove them. I've designed the coaling house here and everything so that it all comes apart.
Wow.
And then you can lift off the various sections of the coaling tower, and then of course the big base here that the coaling tower and the sand house mount to. And again, if I've figured this right, then the track will pass directly in front of the coaling tower. If not, then there's going to have to be some provisions made for that. We bought 2 of the 4x8 sheets of this. more than we need, but it's always nice to have spares in case you mess up. And then I had the guys over at Home Depot cut those down into 2 by 4 foot sections, just to make it much more manageable.
Oh yes, especially trying to haul it home.
So this is where we're at on this project, and we will be picking it up from here as we get all of this Homosote mounted to this area, and then draw on top of that exactly where the tracks are going to go, and figure all that out, and then cut out a section here for the base of the coaling tower and sand house to set in place. So that's first up here. So I hope you're going to want to follow along in show 1001.
Yes.
As we continue work here on the Garden Railroad. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe. And the easy way to subscribe is by clicking on the upcoming blue button. Zoink! Right there, the blue button. Well, we're not sure how you found this video on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring, and we will see you here on Tuesday. See you then.
We'll see ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.